So didn't we need that? Josh Kornbluth, come on, Josh, show yours.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think what you're thinking right now is we really haven't seen Josh on stage talking enough. So we're going to rectify that now, I guess.
Please remember you can always tweet your questions to #SBFF, and Josh will be available if you want to give him all your accolades. Let's keep it to questions right now. Do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am. The question is, where did you find all those wonderful actors?
Well, thanks for asking. The actors are mostly friends of mine, and almost all of them are local Bay Area. I live in Berkeley now, and across from San Francisco, and they're local Bay Area actors, and they're really awesome. We had a couple of ringers from LA. We had Harry Shearer. I don't know if you recognized him from Spinal Tap, and he's half the voices of The Simpsons, and he was the agent. And then of course we had Robert Reich. I don't know if you know, former Labor Secretary Robert Reich, he actually teaches in Berkeley now, so he was a local hire. And he was really great. We couldn't afford to get for that shoot. We couldn't afford to get for Reich's shoot a makeup or hair person. So my wife very reluctantly did the hair and makeup, and she saved the comb in a jar that's in our bathroom. It says, "This is Robert Reich's comb that he used." It's preserved in like alcohol.
Yes, sir. Did you pay your taxes this year?
Are you an official with the Internal Revenue Service? Well, either way, yes, I did. And I didn't even get an extension this year. I paid them on time. And in fact, we got refunds. So.
Yes, sir. How did you keep your sanity?
That makes a presumption. I haven't, but no, it was, things happened to me, and I guess how I keep my sanity is that I'm able to tell stories about them afterwards, so it seems to be worth it.
So the question is, how much of this is true and how much of it is extra?
It's almost all true. This started as a one-man show in the theater, and it took place over a longer period of time than the movie, so I actually shrunk the amount of money that I owed for the movie. It actually was $80,000. And so then I invented that it was $50,000. So, you know, I shrunk it. And I really have no memory if the tax goddesses had a cat or not, but they're real, and Sarah's real, and that's her real name. My wife's name is Sarah, and I can't actually make stuff up. I'm not really good at it, so it's mostly true.
What is your son's name?
We did not name our son Cochise. That was his in utero name. So his name is, my wife's Japanese American, and so we first tried to come up with something that was like Russian Jewish and Japanese American, like the same name, and didn't. So we ended up naming him Guthrie after Woody and Arlo. So we gave him a Scottish name. And he's 18, and he's going to be a filmmaker.
We have a question from Twitter, which I'm going to read exactly. I saw a pen and ink portrait numerous times of a man with a mustache during the scenes in the apartment. Who is it? It's like a trivia question.
A man with a mustache during the scenes with the apartment.
It's your movie.
Okay. No, I'm just going, did we clear it? The man with the, okay, I don't remember the man with the mustache. I'll have to look, and then Twitter me again, and I'll look at it and find out. But there is a woman in a portrait in one of the shots that's in my apartment, and the woman, and it had the story of that portrait, if you go see it again multiple times in the theater, the story of that portrait is that an artist just made up a woman. He just made up a woman that he drew a portrait of, and then his wife saw it, and she said, that looks like Josh Kornbluth in drag. So then he called me and he said, do you have like a sister named Ruth? I said, no. He said, well, I named her Ruth Kornbluth. So anyhow, Ruth Kornbluth is in the movie now. That she's my mythical relative. That really didn't answer the question about the man with the mustache.
Yes, ma'am. Where do you get all your great shirts?
Oh, thank you for asking. My wife, Sarah, makes all of my shirts. And she's made me hundreds of shirts so far. Including, I saw this one. This one was in the movie, as it happens, as I was watching it. Stuff. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, since I just reminded myself, but this movie is actually going to come out this fall, like around the country. It's actually so... It's being distributed by this great company called Abramarama, which distributed Spalding Gray's Swimming to Cambodia. So it's just like really thrilling to me. So it's going to come out this fall. It'll be in New York and elsewhere. The other thing I want to mention, since I'm here so I don't forget, is that I was born in Roslyn. And this is as close as I've gotten in a long time, but when I needed my birth certificate 20 years ago, and I called the Roslyn city clerk, and the woman answered. I said, I'm Joshua Kornbluth. She said, oh yeah, I remember you. She said, you had an enormous head. You had an enormous... I said, you remember it from that many? She said, it was just a huge head. And so I was memorable in Roslyn.
Yes, sir, in the back. Why does the film say in the credits, everything is fictitious?
Because of the lawyer character and everything else. The lawyer character is fictitious. No, you have to put that there. And actually, I was wondering about that because actually most of it is actually true. But I think legally, it's easier to say that it's all made up. I guess it's harder to sue you for being true.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I hope. Thank you. What is she?
Rosalind loves you. That's
what? She loved it.
Rosalind loves you. The whole
Rosalind.
place
Oh, Rosalind.
You. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Thank you, Rosalind. Well, that's awesome. That's, I went, because my parents, thank you, that's really cool. My parents divorced right after I was born. I always sort of wondered why. What was their motivation? And they moved out of Roslyn, and they moved to Manhattan, where my mom went to Washington Heights, my dad went to the Lower East Side, so they staked out opposite ends of Manhattan. So I went to the Bronx High School of Science, which, as you know, is a party school. But it's really cool to hear from Roslyn. It's really cool.
So we have another question from Twitter.
Yeah.
Whatever amount the real loan was, how long did it take you to pay it off, or did you?
Yes, I did. Can you tell Twitter that? Thank you. And how long did it take me to pay off? It took, it happened like that. That guy, David, just gave me all the money. I realized that I think it's more gratifying in a story when the protagonist has to overcome obstacles himself in order to solve the problem, rather than a guy just comes in and says, well, here's the money. I acknowledge that would be more gratifying. It just isn't this story. So it didn't take me very long because the guy gave me the money and I brought it to the bank, and they really did have to get the vice president to sign it, and they really did try to get me to move my money to an account with no taxes on it.
And did you pay that guy back?
What?
Did you pay David back?
Of course I paid David back. What do you... Yeah, we'll talk later.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The question is about your vocational background.
My vocational background?
Educational. Sorry.
My vocational background is very limited. So is my educational. So I actually went to public PS 128 in Washington Heights, and then my teacher told my parents to take me out of public school before I was killed. That was in 2nd grade. So my parents sent me to the Cathedral School of St. John the Divine, where I was the only atheist Jewish son of communists in the choir. And I went home and I told my mom, I don't know if I really belong in the choir there. And she said, just say when they make you cross yourself, just say under your breath, there is no God. Absolutely true story. You can ask my mom. And then I went to Princeton on an oboe scholarship. And then I almost graduated. I did everything with my thesis, and I'm still working on it. And the thing is that if you do your thesis at any time in your life, if you've done everything else at Princeton, you can graduate. So I'm working on becoming the class of 2016. And now I sometimes teach at Stanford, so I tell my students, that I'm going to try to graduate before they do.
Yes, ma'am.
Politics.
So this had been at Sundance?
Haiku Tunnel, the first film, was at Sundance. We completed this one not in time to submit to the Sundance for this one, but it did take a really long time. I did originally perform this piece in 2002 during the Bush-Cheney administrations, and oh God, this is a really scary time right now. Okay, so not gonna think about politics right now. So yes, and then and then I did the piece, and then it took us 8 years to make this movie because we didn't have any money, and we needed to raise it. We would raise like $5,000 and then make 3 scenes and then show it to people and say, give us more money, and they would give us more money and so on, and that took 8 years. And so during the whole time we were filming it, I'm in, as you know, in almost every scene, and I became 8 years older while we were filming. There's even a scene, one of the scenes between me and that lawyer, Mo, the first half of the scene was shot in 1 year, and then the other half of the scene was shot 6 years later. And the amazing thing is I had already deteriorated by the time we started shooting completely to this, so that apparently I will always look like this. And so I'm completely continuous with myself throughout I don't know if that was part of the question.
And
do I do stand-up?
And do you do stand-up?
So I do one-man shows, and this was based on a one-man show, Haiku Tunnel was, and I'm continuing, and I tour with them, and I'm available to perform. I have 8 different one-man shows. Like one's about flunking calculus, and there's this one about taxes, and the one I'm working on now, not to bum you out or anything, but I'm really excited about it. I'm a volunteer now. I was the artist in residence, and I'm the volunteer now at the Zen Hospice Project in San Francisco. And I'm actually doing a piece about that, which amazingly also itself has a lot of laughs in it, and a really important story about the Olive Garden.
Okay, a few more questions. All the way in the back, sir. Do you do the one-man shows on the East Coast as well, or only on the West Coast?
I do shows everywhere that I'm booked, and I was touring a lot up until a few years ago, and then my booking agent, I don't know what her motivation was. She retired from the business, and so I'm just building up my bookings again. But I love coming east, as you know. I'm from around here, and I love coming home. I love going everywhere. So yeah, I tour all over the place. I've even toured through India and a little bit of Poland.
Yes, sir. What are the challenges of expanding your story to a movie?
It's really a different form. It's a different form. My natural form is to stand on a stage and do this, and that's not a movie. And so it's very hard for me to try to imagine stuff, and also to act with other actors. I've never been in a play with like other actors. I've only done one-man shows. So it's really weird for me when we're filming our 2 films, me and my brother, and I'm talking and the person's talking back to me. It's usual for most actors, but it's not for me. And one of the challenges then is that when you do a monologue and you talk, I'm telling the story and it's in your mind. You're imagining it in the audience. You're making, in a way, your own movie. And of course, the movie is showing you. And so it was really hard to put together like the 2 different kinds of, in a way, it alternates between 2 different kinds of storytelling. And it took us a really long time. We actually didn't film the live stuff until after we had shot all the other stuff, all the stuff with the other actors. We had shot a thing in which, you know, the stuff that I do on stage, I actually was saying to the former commissioner, to the Robert Reich character, who was off camera. But the way we shot it, people didn't know who I was looking at off stage, and so we had to do something else. Yeah, hope that was somewhat enlightening.
Please remember to pass your ballots to the left. Josh Kornbluth.
Thank you.